there was a video recently that we're going to play that the Ukraine F-16 training in Denmark, and we're also going to talk about jets. So two different topics on Ukraine. So Denmark 2024, it shows them taxiing out and doing
weather, time shortage, and the pressure to return to the fight. Ukrainian pilots and technicians are going through intense training at the Skrydstrup base in Denmark.
Well, combat experience
it's snowing. That looks bad.
It's really hard to overestimate, but still it is a really condensed program. I think the biggest boost here is not that combat experience, but the motivation to go back and keep fighting. It is really super fun jet to fly. I'm not saying that MiG that I flew before is super boring, but the F-16 is definitely more agile. It feels like the jet wants you to fly it more aggressively.
Yes.
The F-16 is highly complex. Ukraine has never had access to such an advanced system. It's an immense challenge for the technicians who will be responsible for the jet's maintenance.
Спочатку, як ми тільки знайомилися з цією системою, вона нам здавалася незрозумілою і нереальною до інтегрування в Україні. Але зараз я розумію, що
I don't know. We need a translator.
Економить час. Це дійсно варте того, щоб ми просувалися вперед. Якщо ми
хочемо розвиватися
країна як структура в повітряних силах, ми повинні читати цей досвід в різних країнах, які давно переступили цей етап.
For Ukraine, the F-16 is crucial, especially now, as Russia is intensifying its attacks. With the F-16, the pilots will keep aviation from Ukraine's borders, minimizing the threat of glide bombs on civilians and soldiers alike. The F-16s will make Ukraine stronger, and Ukraine is grateful to the coalition for coming together to help Ukraine secure its sky.
Even if we were both European countries, there's a big difference between our cultures, and I think both sides learned a lot from that and made good friendships. We are in this together.
In July 2023, Ukraine and several other countries have formed the so-called F-16 coalition. The coalition is led by the United States, Denmark, and the Netherlands. Other members include Norway, the United Kingdom, Greece, Luxembourg, Canada, Poland, France, Romania, Belgium, Portugal, and Sweden. The coalition is working on the transfer of aircraft, training of pilots and maintenance personnel, and preparation of infrastructure.
So that's the big thing there is, we've talked about this before, you know, an airplane by itself, not going to help you all that much, but infrastructure, training for maintenance, because airplanes do not fly without maintainers that can keep them flying, especially combat ops where it's going to be 24-hour probably operations to some degree. I've talked about some of the limitations, landing on unprepared fields, probably going to be tough, but they're probably going to have some provisions for preparing them or having prepared areas, because you know the F-16 is a big Hoover. It's going to suck up all the foreign object debris that's anywhere in its path, so they're going to have to do that. But the cool thing is, you know, they're training them and they're learning all these things, and they're going to go out there and just like all the other lessons learned, we're going to kind of see the F-16 in a situation that we haven't seen it in, you know, recent times. Because most of the combat hours and most of the hours on these jets are from, you know, Overwatch in Afghanistan, Iraq, Middle East, not dealing with the double-digit SAMs and the trying to shoot down hypersonic missiles and stuff like that. It is not going to be easy. It is not. It is a capability increase because they need jets. You know, they need airplanes. But is it something that I think that immediately changes the course of the war? No, it's something that over time, it's a capability. And I think what a lot of people miss is, I think this F-16 is more for what's next. I think the F-16 is more of the, hey, we're making long-term partners. We're making potential allies in this region that can then stand up against any future aggressions when it finally works itself out over time. And now they're coalition partners in the future. Because the timeline of this, I mean, we're talking, they just had their 2-year anniversary. So and I said this when it first happened 2 years ago, I said, it's not going to be a fast process, and it's still not a fast process. But I think the fact that they're coming together and giving them these airplanes and giving them the training, they're teaching them Western tactics. You know, you start doing that, you make them more of a Western society and a Western military so that we can better integrate with them in the future. But I don't know, I don't know. I thought it was a real cool video, and I thought that it was interesting that I really always appreciate the fact that they say nice things about the Viper, because I agree. It's the greatest airplane in the world. Gonky?
Yeah, I tell you what, man, my hat's off to the pilots and the maintainers that are going through that course to try to stand up, an entirely new weapon platform, the F-16, in the middle of a war like they're fighting. That's a monumental task. And those, I mean, like I said, my hat's off to them. I agree with you. Logistics, we've talked about it before. I'm not exactly sure that it's going to make that much of a dent in what's going on over there. I think it'll raise morale.
Yeah.
I think it's good for, the common soldier that's slugging it out. I mean,
yeah,
it's some sort of progress, that the country can report on. But I mean, like you said, those F-16s are going to be put in an environment that they have not seen, at least in the last 20 years. Like you said, we've just been flying circles, dropping.
Well, the other questions that I've asked in the past have actually been answered. Canada's given them, I think, 40 AMRAAMs, which is not a lot. I don't know what the number is, but unless it's like hundreds, you could easily deplete that store, fairly quickly, depending on how long this prolongs. So, but they are getting material support in the form of weapons and missiles and stuff, which, again, you have to learn the tactics. Without the tactics, I mean, we're seeing that there was an M1 Abrams tank that was destroyed on the battlefield, and it was operating by itself. Well, that's not tank tactics to go operate as a lone tank. So without the tactics, now,
right?
Do we start learning things from this? Absolutely. I mean, this war and Israel are the two greatest classrooms on the planet right now for military tacticians.
Dude, I will tell you that guy came from the MiG-29. I have experienced MiG-29 tactics, and it is 180 out. Like, the F-16 was not designed for like the same pilot that flies MiG-29s. Like, so it's going to be a huge, monumental hurdle for those guys to wrap, especially if you got, I mean, imagine if you got 2,000 hours in a fulcrum, and they're like an F-16 with some toys. You're going to, what?
Dude, you and I have done this. I mean, think about, I know this because I came from the Hornet, or the Viper, to the Hornet. And when I got in the Viper, I'm like, holy crap, dude, the Navy doesn't do anything like the Air Force. The jet's not mech'd the same way,
right.
None of it makes sense.
But they're Western jets.
But I had 1,000 hours. Like,
right.
100%. That's a good point as far as, your law of primacy. What are the habit patterns that you started with, and what do you try to revert to when things get tough? Wombat, what do you think about all this?
I think it's interesting. I do think it's more, and again, I think I use the word propaganda or an agenda that's trying to be pushed. That's not always a bad thing, right? I mean, you have people on the ground that are fighting for their country. They do need some good morale boosting news. And if it's that, and it sets them up in the future to have a little bit more advanced stuff, then good on it. But I agree with you, Mover. I don't really think that this single incident is going to change the shape of the war one iota. Frankly, I think it's just one aspect of it. And I think, unfortunately, when you have this agenda or this propaganda and you put so much behind something and you give so much hope to people on something, you're setting yourself up for failure, because when that does not come through, because eventually these will be operational and they will be there fighting and they will be doing it. And if it doesn't change anything, the reverse morale effect on that can be detrimental, far worse than the positive in the beginning. And again, not to get on a leadership soapbox, but it's the same thing, right? I mean, it's well, we need people to be behind it right now. We need the rah-rah right now. F-16s, rah-rah. Oh, it's awesome. F-16s, rah-rah. And then a year, 2 years, 3 years goes by and nothing's changed. Well, the dude who's sitting in a hole that misses his family is like, well, frick, where's the damn jet? Oh, there's one. Well, oh, we have them, and it hasn't fixed it all. Like, then you see it swing the other way with the morale, and that can be way worse.
I'll do you one better, Wombat. What happens when the first one gets shot down?
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's gonna crush. It's gonna crush one side and raise morale of the the
Yeah,
immensely.
And
I mean,
that's why
because this is the biggest trash talking war.
Yeah, the war fighting has become this psychological game. And, that's what I worry about, is it's not, it's easy to sit behind a desk as a leader, whatever facet you're in, and make these unilateral decisions. But until you're the guy or girl whose butt's in a hole, like, man, you better be careful what decisions you're making with the hearts and minds of those individuals, because without them, nothing matters. I mean, all three of us know, as much as we want to sit here and pat ourselves on the back, we were fighter pilots, we were the tip of the spear, and blah, 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 blah. None of it mattered if there wasn't people on the ground that were willing to keep their boots on the ground. Because I can lob JDAMs all day long at dirt.
Right.
Okay. The only person it affects is who's under the JDAM. It's not, it's the people that are on the ground that are actually occupying that's going to make a difference.